Hello and welcome to this episode of the Beyond podcast and this final live recording from Middleton's Endgame, a game at chess day from the 400th anniversary of the staging of this infamous play by Thomas Middleton. Following an introduction, a performance of the play, a panel, a live performance of an adaptation of the 1626 Lord Mayor's show, we got to the last end-of-day discussion with returning guests Tracey Hill, Daniel Yabut, Will Green, and cast member Keith Hill. As this was the closing event of a long day, we do discuss the themes in detail, so do read the content warnings before you begin, as we will discuss those themes with some attack. If you haven't listened to parts 1 to 5 of this series of recordings from the day, I do suggest you go back for a bit of context. Otherwise, let me throw you back to Sunday the 8th of August 2024, one of the 400th anniversaries for a game of chess by Thomas Middleton, and I hand you over to past Robert. Enjoy. Okay, let me call this final panel to order. Welcome to Endgame, our closing discussion of the end of a very long weekend of a game at chess action. Our panel once again are Will Green, Tracey Hill, Daniel Yabut, and joining us last minute, because I just literally grabbed him, Keith Hill from the cast, and hopefully later on some of you in the audience as well. We will ask your opinions. I'm going to begin with a quote from Joseph Mead, who on the 25th of May, 1625, wrote, "The play called The Game at Chess is in print, but because I have no skill in the game, I understand it not." Because that is one of the questions we keep asking with this play, no matter how many times we read it, and however much we've got to this stage with our production, is how do we unlock and deobfuscate meaning? So, people on the panel, what happened today? What landed? What didn't? What is a game? What is this play? Because actually, this is the interesting thing. We spent the entire day not talking about the play. We've talked about everything around the play, and we've vaguely moved in that direction. But actually, what happened? What just happened?
It's funny. It's funny. It was really amazing. What a revelation to see it done. Hear it done. Really astonishing, actually. I mean, yeah. The chess thing was, for me, a bit less in evidence than I thought it might be. I thought the kind of it sort of faded out of view a few times. You kind of much more about the kind of plot and the characters and stuff. But as a kind of an exercise in sort of working with a established format, which is different to how a lot of plays are constructed, I thought it was very interesting, quite ambitious, beyond the whole political thing, quite ambitious kind of theatrical endeavour, really. And I can see now, in a way that I probably couldn't have seen before I'd actually heard it and seen it, why it was so successful.
I mean, Dan mentioned earlier, the problem with the play, when you read the play, is they're all called the king's, knight's, pawn. The scripts are numbered. Everybody has numbers, so they know which bit they're reading. Because otherwise, I suspect at times we would really struggle to dance from which piece to which piece. But in performance, and again, this is something we can ask you as well, that doesn't seem to be so much of an issue, or is it? Are we... I think in a full performance we'd have costumes as well, which would help to distinguish. We did basically colour coding for our version. You may have noticed the Black House was mostly this side and the White House was mostly that side. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but there was a plan.
Sinister side.
Yeah, it was. In terms of landing, in terms of understanding what's going on from moment to moment,
I think that Joseph Mead reflects what a lot of people assume about the play. He has no skill in chess, therefore he doesn't understand what's going on. But having seen it performed, the play is not really anything to do with chess. And if you're playing chess, don't try and change a white pawn into a black pawn, because it's not allowed.
No.
But it's okay in the play. because the play is not about chess in that sense. You don't need to be familiar with chess at all. Well, at the basic level of understanding that there are pawns and there are bishops and there are knights. But otherwise, it's a play that it's a espionage drama. It's a political drama. I think that came across a lot more clearly in performance than if you're reading on the stage with all of these weird speech prefixes all over the page.
Dan?
Well, I brought this up earlier in the week because we've been doing readings every single day to commemorate the 9 days of this being performed on Zoom there. And one of the stage directions, I think it's only in one of the unique copies, the manuscript copy of Archstall, where they talk about the black pieces, the white pieces lining up as if they're in the positions on the board. I don't think you need to know how to play chess to know what it looks like already, because it's just out there. And I wondered how popular chess really is in the moment. So even if you don't know the game, you still have the basic concept of what it is. I think it's one of those, the play works for me. Like any good play, yeah, you've got the hook in there, whether it's the politics or the Spanish match or chess. Maybe because chess was super popular. Hey, I like chess. I want to see what this chess play is about. And so it's fun to make those connections. What I really liked about it was, if you know the game, it's even better. And if you don't know the game, well, you're going to get a semblance of how it works anyway. And I do think that there are certain correspondences that work really, really well there, like the Black Knight being shifty, if you know how the knight works, moving in L's and whatnot, and people being direct. So yeah, you don't need it, but when you do know it, it's even better.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not bringing in complicated moves that aren't explained, and you have to have some sort of top-tier knowledge of, that's referring to this particular opening gambit or something. I also think it's very interesting that chess was chosen, considering King James I hated chess. Yeah.
Oh,
well, James I, very progressive guy in a lot of things. He thought tobacco was bad for your health. And he thought chess was bad for your health as well. He thought that it distracted you from made you warlike in your mind, and it distracted you from more worthwhile pursuits like
witches,
poetry
yes.
and like hunting down witches.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but presumably James would still have a clue what was going on, and he'd get something out of that play if indeed he did laugh heartily at it. Even a man who thought chess was something to be avoided.
And it does give us these big roles. I mean, when we first read it, I basically just went, the Black Knight. That is my part. In practice, it wasn't, Keith. Because the Black Knight gets to go on stage and basically do some lawyering, and therefore we couldn't not cast you.
There are a number of things that come out of this text which I think have landed for me rather more clearly than some of the other early modern stuff I've done. One is it's written for an audience that has day-to-day worries. It's written for an audience that's very concerned about the security of their women. It's written for an audience that is enormously frightened of a poor economy, poorly functioning economy. The king does not emerge terrifically well out of it, I don't think. He comes across as rather dull and, interestingly enough, meek. And he never actually makes a decision. And judging by what we read about the context of the play, after we'd done it, I'm beginning to see where that comes from. Because there's this pass the parcel game being played with, what are we going to do about this play? And it's almost as if those concerns are actually expected to be in the audience's heads. One thing we noticed when we started talking about the Spanish match and how important that was, it doesn't happen till Act 4. Acts 1 and 2, how much of the action is actually the pawns? And what are they actually trying to do? Impeach each other's virtue. And this is put into a religious context. And I have to say, as Robert hinted, in an earlier existence, I was actually a legal practitioner, and it so happens in crime. And two things struck me as quite astonishing. One is the grooming of the White Queen's pawn. And with the first time I heard that read by somebody else, I thought, Jesus wept, I've not seen that done as well in anything written in the last 100 years. That, and the other thing also that Robert has been kind enough not to mention is I'm a Roman Catholic. And we are very regularly warned about the way that this happened to me at university. The chaplaincy sat us all down and said, now, you're all very young and you're all very clever and you have no idea how the world turns. And lots of people know that and they will try and recruit you. Do not accept invitations to tea from the following. And bearing in mind the current very unsavoury reputation of the Roman Catholic Church in matters concerning childcare, you keep bits of the witness statements that have been emerging through the children's inquiry could have been taken out of that scene with the White Queen's pawn. But you see, you must be ill-disciplined if you don't do what I want. And it's actually quite chilling. And when it got to the rape trial, I sort of thought, oh, Christ, I think I remember doing this once. He said, are you absolutely sure? Are you really sure? Are you absolutely sure? Last chance to change your story. Right, I've got you. It actually sort of made the hairs on the back of my neck actually go up a bit. I thought, oh, God, that's what's going on, is it? I tried to find a wig, but there wasn't one available. It is quite astonishing. It also actually throws a bit of a sidelight on what people involved in the production of the play and must have been expecting people watching the play knew about the way courts work. Because I had no idea trials for felonies were that adversarial and that clever, because the way I was always taught it was the right to cross-examine witnesses came in about the 19th century. But obviously there was some sort of rather crude and diffuse procedure which everybody would have expected an audience ranging from the yard to the knobs box at the back all to recognise, because there's a lot of it. That's not a special interest group. It makes up the first 2/3 of the play, really.
Yes, and this is the thing that has always appealed the play to me, is that I keep saying, the Spanish Match, all this other stuff is actually a bit of a red herring. If you look at what happens in the play, nothing in the play that happens is about the Spanish Match or about politics at the time. People come on and riff on the Spanish Match and politics at the time. They talk about it, but the action in the play has pretty much nothing to do with it. And the reason it speaks to me as a play is that there is this core that comes out the first 3 acts that speaks absolutely to the abuse of power that we see today. And it's the question, as a responsible producer, that I have to answer, which is, can I make that side clear and keep that in a production and do something that does something with the various other hate crimes that happens during the text? Because the whole thing is constantly, unremittingly anti-Catholic. Can we frame that? Can we speak to an audience and in a way, and a non-curated audience like the one here, that can come in not knowing anything about the play and get the good, and on some level be distanced from the bad. And that is the game going forward as to what to do with this.
There was a passing moment which I hadn't really registered before, and just kind of chimes with what Keith's just been saying, which is the jokey reference to all the dead children. In the nunnery, it made me think about the children's homes, the mother and baby homes in Ireland, and all the horrors that kind of been unearthed there. And it's like, it was one of those moments. You sort of like, whoa, I mean, we know Middleton doesn't pull his punches, but it's a very strange experience in some respects, because it is funny. It's funnier than I thought it was going to be, but it's also really bloody horrible. It's kind of got some really horrible stuff in it. And the White Queen's pawn obviously is sort of, being predated on and gaslit and all this kind of stuff. It's a real melange of things, not just that Middleton himself has done previously in his career, because of course there's changelings all over it, isn't it? I mean, the phraseology, the images and all the rest of it, it's so changeling. but other texts from the period. You know, a lot of the set piece speeches you were doing, Keith, it was Mammon, wasn't it, from Johnson? You know, it's definitely Johnson, seemed to me. So yeah, it's like Middleton is sort of trying to cram in an awful lot of stuff. Maybe this is why the chess thing kind of just does disappear from view a bit, because you couldn't make that work within the format of the chess thing.
And the play gets funnier as it goes on.
Yeah.
It's like the opening is a drama, and then it slowly morphs into a comedy until it gets to magic mirror territory, which when you read it as a play is just going, what the hell is this bit? And yet in performance, it kind of works. And I was very surprised, because I was constantly saying in rehearsal, we're trying to create a through line for the Black Queen's Pawn, and going, so why are you doing all the stuff you're doing? And we go, don't worry about that later. And we did find a through line, but it's quite hard, because Middleton does not give you a proper reason why the Black Queen's Pawn is doing anything until the very end, when she goes, oh yes, there's some backstory.
There's also a lot of things that I was struck with that if I hadn't already looked deep into it, I would not have understood really what the point behind it was. Like the magic mirror thing, the fact they say about the glass that she got from an Egyptian. I always thought, well, were Egyptians known for magic glass? No, because Egyptian was a common phrase for gypsy. So that makes more sense when you understand that and negative attitudes towards Romany people. But the elements like that are so targeted that you think the audience would think, I know exactly what they're saying and I agree, does kind of get lost a little now.
In that instance, probably for the best.
Well, yeah.
Actually, that also makes it a very city play, doesn't it? Because it's not so many decades before this was put on that you would find people writing textbooks as to how you do things. If you're a magistrate or a soldier, you find your textbook is called the so-and-so's glass. And of course, most mirrors at the time are grotesquely misleading because they're poorly polished and they fall apart and you don't get a proper image. And whenever somebody talks about through a glass darkly, I mean, that's what they mean. This, it seems to me, promptly lumps any form of superstition, witchcraft, divining, all firmly in the lap of Rome. Because, of course, we English don't believe that anymore, do we? And yet the king is the author of demonology. I mean, admittedly, he then went on to revise his opinions pretty rapidly, actually, as far as I remember. Sorry, I shouldn't trespass on your territory. But the attitude to superstition, particularly in the cities, feels to me as if it moves extremely fast compared to some of the other stuff we've seen on the podcast from about sort of 50, 60 years before this, where much more credulity is given to allegations of witchcraft. In one or two cases you see actual witchcraft, actual divining carried out on stage, and somebody's carted off and hanged for it, and we're all supposed to cheer. But on this occasion, everybody on the white side seems to say, no, this is all a cousin with which the virtuous can be led into error. And
the play opens with error.
And the play opens with error.
Middleton loves error.
Yes.
He loves error. But I think but I think the Gondomar character doesn't believe in anything, does he? You know, he's utterly amoral, utterly unscrupulous. You know, and it's not like he's got some sort of inherent devotion to the cause of the Black House.
There is a goal. There is a mission statement that Loyola presents at the beginning of the play, but in service to that goal, all bets are off.
But I think what I'm getting at is that it's more of a kind of secular power play than anything else. It's not about religious practices as such. It's much more about who's running this part of the world.
Yes, and that's where we come back to the spy thing. Of that, this is a spy network. These people are all collecting intelligence. They're bringing it to a central clearinghouse. They're burning documents that they don't want anyone to see, or any intelligence that they picked up, or to burn it only to a certain point so that people have to spend ages trying to figure out what any of it means. It's very detailed and but also just very corrupt. what gets me about the attempted rape scene is immediately in the aftermath, the Black Bishop and the Black Knight come on and go, "For God's sake, could you not assault her quietly? Could you not have someone on watch and just do this properly? These young people today do not know how to organise this." And it's not, you should not do this. It is just, we all do this. It's all fine, but you've just messed up. And that's the level of those characters, and where they come from and how the game is played.
Well, that ties into the indulgences stuff as well, doesn't it? Very much. Obviously he makes a great play of that, and it is funny, that scene, but it's also, it's obviously hackneyed. It's a thing about Catholic practices that goes back hundreds of years, but he does it very well, I think. I mean, you guys did it very well. Perhaps.
I mean, that scene going through the various costs, the costings for having your sins remitted. It was a license to print money in terms of a stage business. I mean, it really is. It's a very well constructed bit of back and forth. The killing. No, turn the page. It's very well constructed for that kind of work.
I mean, there are obvious signs where Middleton plays fast and loose with the actual situation. He can't be bothered to get his history right on one or two occasions, but then who probably would have done. And also the thing that struck me was, as you say, Gondomar is an amoral man. The Black Knight is an immoral figure. It's very interesting that what he talks about is not the triumph of his faith, but the project monarchical. And I kept looking for some form of blinding inspiration, and I was thinking, any minute now he's going to confide his soul to God before he goes and does something absolutely dreadful. He never, ever does, nor does he expect anybody else to do so, including his opposition. And the other thing that I think, Daniel, you and I both noticed when we were going through this as actors, the devil gets all the best tunes in this show. The people that Middleton is propagandizing against are much more fun to play than the House of Virtue. Just so much. Maybe that's to do with modern attitudes of the actor.
No, I think James and I think they would have been boring, whatever. Actually, they really are. Sorry.
I don't know.
Sorry.
No, I mean, for me, I don't know. It really kicked in the moment that that there was going to be the attempted rape. Just as soon as the adversaries got on the stage, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I'm interested in watching the action. So when they were just arguing, when they were just chatting at the beginning, I'm like, let's get to it.
It really is a difficult opening. It really is that, because you're not told what's going on initially.
No.
The first lines from the Black Queen's Pawn is professed out loud for the person over there to overhear. They're not actually talking to each other, and the other one goes, "Oh, hang on, what are you saying? You're talking about me?" It's really a weird way of starting. And Middleton does this a lot. It's a technique he seems to be interested in, of not telling the audience what's going on initially. That the explication of what's going on happens after the fact. And that's a really interesting technique, and a question of off-putting people, putting people out of step with the action. But it is a big challenge for us, especially with the text, which is a bit elliptical in that stage of getting that across. And we can ask the audience in a moment if we succeeded. Which we're moving in that direction to actually asking the audience for their opinions, because of course we've said here, oh yes, we've done all this and this and this and this and this, and then they'll say, I have no idea what happened. That is clearly wrong. I am lost. Help me. Yes, before I go around the room, see if anyone would like to say anything. We have got a roving microphone that will happen in a moment. Any other thoughts about this play?
Just following on what you said about it not being clear at the start, what's going on. Watching the play today made me realise that it's a play that really takes the audience along with it. You go from initial curiosity, what's happening here, to the White Queen's Pawn coming out at the end and actively goading the audience to go out and find Catholics And you'll see, because they're going to be your envy's mark denoted, because they'll be the people who are really disappointed by the ending of this play. And it goes through the play just bringing up things as if to build up a sense of fear in the audience. Like it'll just say randomly, oh, do you remember Dr. Lopez, that person who was allegedly a traitor against Elizabeth I? Yeah, we'll mention him. Remember the gunpowder plot? We'll mention the powder plot.
The powder plot being at least one of the few topical references that I think people still got.
Well, yeah, James insisted that it was celebrated every year.
Yeah. But it's basically like, here's this thing that you were scared of. We'll mention that. It was a couple of decades ago, but it's important you think of that now while watching this play, just to drop it in. So you're like building up a sense in the audience of all these events from the past that they're being reminded of. It's almost like you're just trying to, goad them into something.
Fear-mongering.
Yeah.
And also, there's that reference in the last speech of the White Queen's Pawn, which basically says, and they're in the audience now. And you sort of go, oh. So everybody suddenly starts looking to right and left in the yard. It's quite extraordinary. Little factoid, by the way, I'll throw in now because I'm fascinated by this. Lopez, the surgeon who did try to poison Queen Elizabeth, the Staff Wine Society.
You are tempting tempting Helen to respond to your but go on.
Yes, the Staff Wine Society at St Bartholomew's Hospital is named after him. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Okay, we have a roving microphone for anyone who'd like to ask a question.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that I have read this play on its own. I have read chunks of it on Zoom for this eminent company. And this is the first time I have ever understood a word of it. But I must say, I now understand it. I understand the plot, and I understand a fair amount of the meaning. So I think this is a tremendous achievement to get it into my poor brain.
Other thoughts? Anyone want to express an opinion? If you were totally lost, we will explain the plot now if someone wants something. I see Lois over there.
Well, thanks very much for this marvellous performance. Yes, I think I've also read the play many times and was part of the Zoom readings briefly. I'd never really realized before how beautifully the thing is actually constructed. I mean, that there is a political plot which obviously concerns the Black King, the Black Knight, the Black Bishop, which they really want to get on with and which has to do with taking over the world. And then there's this plot within it, which is the Black Bishop's pawn trying to seduce the White Queen's pawn, which is basically a city comedy plot about the Black Queen's pawn trying to get revenge on the Black Knight's pawn, the Black Bishop's pawn for having seduced her years ago.
And this is why it's so difficult to talk about this play. Give them proper names!
Yeah. And and if it were a city comedy, it would end up with him marrying her, because of the bed trick. But of course, because they're Catholics, they can't marry. But fortunately, because it's a morality play, they can all go to hell, so it doesn't matter. That just sort of resolves the plot. So I was very struck by this, how beautifully it was all worked out. I could also say something about chess, if you could face it. Because I did actually study chess of this period at one time, and it seems to me that Middleton obviously likes games anyway. He did the one about tennis. He has references to Barley Break and The Changeling, and he's got the chess game in Women Beware Women. And he clearly, I think possibly because he seems to be a Calvinist and to believe in, a kind of invisible hand controlling everything and a kind of absence of free will, which is what a game would suggest. But also, I think the references in the play, they look to me as if you ought to do something with them. I wondered whether I've seen productions that have attempted to do a chessboard and have people moving, and clearly you couldn't possibly do any play that would be consistently a chess game, but you could make people at certain moments perhaps go into the positions of chess pieces, because some of it does make a kind of sense. I mean, not seeing a piece until it's there, or something jumping over something, because you're not looking in the right place. And that final bit about checkmate by discovery, the noblest game of all, that refers to the moment, I think, when the king is checkmated because you move a piece out of the way, and the king is then right in the line of something that can take it, and there's no place for it to go. If you could somehow do that, that is considered, a really great move if people haven't noticed that the king is in that kind of danger.
Yes, no, that would speak actually very nicely to that end scene, is if you basically take the Black Knight at that point and expose the king, that would sort of make sense. Roel?
Just to add on the chess element of the last scene, it struck me that it would actually also really make sense for the rook and the knight of the white team to be the ones leading the charge, to basically go past the lines of the enemy, to then pretend like, oh, we're just hanging out here behind your lines. We got you. Ta-da.
Chess was actually quite fashionable at this period. There was a master chess player named Greco who came to England and played demonstration games. I think Prince Henry was originally very keen on it. I'm not sure. I think Charles liked it as well. And the reason James didn't like it was that he just thought it absorbed you too much. I know exactly what he means. I haven't played chess for years, but somebody on a train once with a small board got me to play with him, and I nearly missed my station. I just...
I'm sure that's the situation James was thinking
Yes,
of.
yes.
He was on a royal progress, and for some reason he completely...
He missed Althorp and ended up in Warwick.
Other thoughts or questions from the room? It's very difficult for us to see here, but do wave if you have opinions. You can disagree with anything we've said, by the way. We won't be able to take offence. I won't anyway. I don't know about everybody else. Otherwise, I'm going to start drifting us towards a close to these festivities.
Just before you do that, can I throw one thing in, which is
Yes.
that two of our last three contributors have been very generous about the extent to which the play has been opened up by performance. But I have to say, as one of the actors involved, who's also been involved in some of the podcasts, that Lois and Helen's contributions to our Zoom meetings and their membership of this podcast have been unbelievably helpful. I find it quite unusual that Helen says, oh, this is the first time I've understood it. Because actually quite a lot of the beavering around that certainly I've been doing, and Daniel, you were way ahead of me on this, was actually informed by remarks that Lois and Helen made during online readings of this play a wee while ago. So, it's a wonderful feeling that this project is organically broadening everybody's perception of the stuff we're working with. It's really a very nice feeling.
Well said.
Any final thoughts on the panel before I do my final oration?
Everyone needs to petition the Globe Theatre or something to do a full-scale professional production of a game.
They've had
Or
their
anyone.
chance.
We need to see it in costumes and all the effects and everything.
I mean,
because
they are
it
having a
can be
research
done.
in action in
Yeah.
a month.
They are, and yes, actually, that is a fair plug. We should make the Globe is doing a research in action. They have been very generous in letting me know that they weren't doing anything in August.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah.
Any other final thoughts on the panel?
I'll just say that, I was introduced, I mentioned this earlier, but I was introduced to this play in 2015, and it's only until this past week. And I've been studying this and going around to the different archives and libraries around the world, looking at these copies, and I could not get my head around this play. And even doing the Zoom readings, I still could not. And so it's been a pleasure for me to work on this and actually see it being staged. I'm like, actually, I think I get it now. Watching, being able to assign roles to people, and even if I don't remember which pawn it is or to whose character it is, I remember now what the role is in the play. And so that's been really valuable and important to me.
I mean, this is a process. This is an ever-expanding process, as everyone has mentioned. We started We were asked to read and work on this play by our patrons 5 to 6 years ago. I can't remember precisely when. We first read it on Zoom in the early pandemic, so that's 4.5 years ago. And we've been slowly working towards this date. We are continuing to endeavour to mark the 400 anniversaries and to do this performance. I had hoped actually we'd have already done an audio version for the podcast by now, and actually we would have been staging it for this anniversary. And there is a fairly straightforward logistical problem that this is quite a big play, and to do a big play you need a big stage and therefore also a big audience, and building an audience for this is part of our ongoing process. We have 3 more readings over the next few days where we're going to continue our question of how do we create our modern text? How do we create a modern performable version? I have various theories and ideas about what to do with that. Some of them are straightforwardly what bits probably might need a trim, and some of them are much more knotty, of that question of how do you present something and frame it so that we're not endorsing some of the more problematic aspects of the play, but however retain the complexity of the text. I think sometimes you can simplify and take out of a text that and kill it in the process, and work towards a full staging. It wouldn't necessarily be the text you heard tonight, but certainly it is, in my view, very stageable, and very interesting and very engaging. And I hope that's where we go. And hopefully that some of you will come along for that journey as we continue to find things. And the great thing about this text is it has depth. It has angles. It has areas that we can dig into and claw into, and areas that we may say, oh no, we need to move away from that. We need to move to there. And that's what's so enriching about a text like this. And I'd just like to say thanks at this stage to everyone who has been on this journey with this particular play over the last 6 years or so. Most of them are in the programme. I have endeavoured to credit everyone who has come on this journey, and that credit list is quite long now. But I also want to thank everyone in the future who's going to continue with this work and make things happen, and hopefully, as I say, you will be part of that journey. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful panellists, all the wonderful readers, everyone who's contributed today, you for being here. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night. And that's it from Middleton's Endgame. And many thanks to all the people who contributed live and online to make this day happen. The number of people involved in creating something like this is enormous, and actually too long for me to read out now. Vast numbers of people who contributed to the exploring sessions on YouTube, and also just behind the scenes, as well as everyone you've been able to hear in this series. Literally. There may one day be another edit of the live performance of the play, one that functions a bit better as an audio adaptation, but we shall see. Till next time, there is a host of other material on the podcast and YouTube channel, so many readings of the play in different cuts, depending on your interest, all available for free. There's also a discussion on Middleton's legacy on the pod, with editors of a collection on that subject. Supporting us on any level on the Patreon is a huge help, so it would be lovely to see you there, patreon.com/Beyond Shakespeare. There's even a free subscription tier to keep up to speed with developments. Alternatively, you can support us with a one-off donation on ko-fi.com/Beyond Shakespeare, and links to all these are in the show description. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.